Kagyu Tupten Choling is our Dharma Center's name. I'm Lamatashi. We do this class every Thursday night, 6 to 8 o'clock, and it's recorded on our website, quietdharma.org. When we present this class, it is encouraged by the people who practice here on Kauai, but more importantly, people that live in many other different parts of the planet. And they are all together called Sangha. The Sangha simply means a spiritual support system for growing, developing, and evolving into what we call a mature human being, or Buddha. And the Sangha is not only the people that practice and the teachers, but also it's a support. And it is the same support you would get as if you were reading about all of this tradition or these practices of Buddhism in other traditions, or seeing them on videos, or just teachings by the Lama Gurus. So when we do these practices, the Sangha is very important. Here on Kauai, we have many Sangha members, but we also have what is called a transitional situation where people come and stay for a while and then go someplace else, either because it's too expensive or they don't find it to their liking.
Transient.
Yeah, the transient population. Or they do what we all do, die. But in the aspect of the Dharma, this isn't just for this life. This is an ongoing program for your next life and the many lives on planets that you will take birth in the future. Knowing that, your practice doesn't have an end. It's ongoing. And how that works is, look, the cyclic existence itself seems to be unending. Cyclic existence is the emotional involvement with what you think, say, and do. That's called karma. And cyclic existence involves all sentient beings, all the humans and animals that take birth on planets throughout our universe, and all of the four spirit worlds that inhabit our entire universe. And these 6 categories of sentient beings all have the same common denominator, and that is emotional involvement with what they say, think, and do, and judgment. They have this habitual tendency that whatever they sense, see, smell, taste, touch, or feel, or whatever they think about, past, present, or future, there's a predetermined judgment call that goes with those activities of thinking, speaking, and acting. So when we practice the Dharma, is to move out of that emotional predisposition in a way that allows the other nature of our consciousness to present itself naturally. And when I say naturally, it's the same kind of natural situation as the universe itself, which doesn't have an emotional program and doesn't have judgment towards us. It doesn't exist that way. And since we do, we're distorting our involvement with our natural world and with everything that we say, think, and do. And that distortion is what causes the pain and suffering. And that itself is universal in cyclic existence. And all sentient beings, including even the celestial realms of spirit, for the most well-off humans, have some kind of physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual suffering. And that's not appropriate. So the Buddhas take birth on these planets at an age where sentient beings can train to break this judgmental emotional program and reinsert a more appropriate one that would move them out of this condition of existence that causes pain and suffering. The key word is health. And that's what Tibetan shamanistic Buddhism labels itself as, a health program. Because it not only treats health or disease with various modalities, but that treat the symptomatic aspects of disease or pain and suffering. But it also cuts the root cause of pain and suffering with antidotes that exist in the emotional program. And when I say that, to give you an example, if you have attachment, which is an emotional predisposition based on your judgment of what you're sensing or thinking about as being good for you, that causes the attachment to arise. And the attachment is so powerful in its own, these emotional programs carry so much power because they've been going on for many, many lifetimes, and of course this lifetime, that the antidote exists in that energy program. It's kind of like an algorithm with your computer that would choose with an application what is appropriate for you to see on your computer, or how you want that computer to function. The mind is the same way. And so every algorithm can be transformed. And it's an energy system that exists, because if it wasn't, then you couldn't get your computer to do what you wanted to do, or your cell phone with the apps, they call them apps. So really what we're doing with our mind in these practices is applying apps. And the algorithms of the Tibetan tradition are based on 3 apps. And these are the basis of all Buddhist practice. Meditation, first of all, motivation, then meditation. Then mudra means your view or position. And then the result. Now, the way we practice shamanism or tantric Buddhism is the motivation, the practice, and the result are all done simultaneously. So there is no result. Because your motivation and your practice is the result. And that's the antidote. And it can be applied, as I said before, the modalities that treat disease by its patterning. And that's, we call that the outer treatment. And then the inner treatment is changing the mindset, thought process, and not having to rely on thinking to get a result. And that doesn't make sense. But that's the result. So when we say relative we're applying the truth of how it really is for everybody. And as I said before, heaven, hell, war gods and war deprived spirits, all these spirit worlds, and anywhere that humans and animals take birth. This is where this is designed to alleviate the pain and suffering of those sentient beings, and also to bring them eventually in time, which we call temporal existence or conditioned existence, to understand their true nature and how to use it. And there's nothing beyond that. There's nowhere to go. Okay? And if you attain this level of consciousness, it spirals up out of the cyclic existence of pain and suffering. And it's applied in infinite proportion, similar to the way the computer systems of the world work when they function as the cloud. There's no measurement for that. That's the word infinite. Well, the result in Tibetan Buddhism is applied in infinite proportions to the sentient beings that are suffering. So that's one state of infiniteness. And then from that, the infinite results accumulate. And there's no end to that. So a lot of people don't like this idea of endlessness. They want a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's what they're conditioned to believe. For instance, you take birth, and because of birth, you're going to age, and because you age, you're going to incur sickness or disease, and because of that, the body wears out, and you're going to die. Leave. So there's a beginning, middle, and end to this process of the human body. But in the consciousness, it doesn't work that way. You can't find a beginning, middle, or end to consciousness. It exists on its own. And sentient beings, to evade pain and suffering, come up with concepts based on this idea of a self existing. But they complicate that by thinking this self exists on its own, and it exists separately from the environment around them and the other sentient beings in the world. It thinks that. And therefore it makes up concepts that are beyond that actuality. They're made up. They're myth. Okay? So how do we treat this consciousness that lives by these myths? Is we make up myths that counteract the myths that don't work. Because that's the situation. And so where do we start? With ourselves, just where we are, just how we are. And we look at that. And when I say we look at that, the individual looks into his own consciousness in the same way you would analyze your computer or your cell phone and delete what's not appropriate, what causes you, what disturbs you, for instance. That's the way we practice. And what do you delete is when you look into yourself, you're finding the basis of certain thoughts that cause negative patterning. When I say negative, I mean harmful, that cause you pain and suffering. And then you find out you are the ones that's the cause of those thoughts that cause pain and suffering. Therefore, you can delete them. And the more and more you delete this negative patterning with these antidotes that we present in this class, the healthier you get, the happier you get. And the results start right away. You have to do the same things over and over. Well, some of us do, yeah. But I say that some of the practices are going to take a long time to get the final result of no more pain and suffering. But what else do you have to do? Do you want to stay in psychic existence and continue pain and suffering physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? The answer for most of us is no. Do you want to do correct that? Good health, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? Most of us, yeah. And so we start in this tradition with whatever support is available in our time. Now we could read all about the masters all the way back to Shakyamuni Buddha, this symbol over my left shoulder. The Buddha. The Buddha of nature is simply your natural mind without the distortion of judgment and emotional fixation. Now the word fixation is a toughie. For instance, if you do discover your natural mind, you don't want to fixate on it. Otherwise, you're inflating the idea of the self as something that exists. And the religions of the planet do exactly that, and including Buddhism. And I know this because I practice these religions of this planet. That's been my hobby. And the results were practical and helped me to develop, grow. But they didn't take me to the evolutionary stage of being able to delete the negative emotional pattern. So then I needed help, and so I found a teacher who knew the antidote. And with that guide and your own personal motivation, you make progress. And that's what Tibetan Buddhism is all about. And the key word of Tibetan Buddhism is Lamaism. Shamanistic Lamaism. Not based on texts, not based on prophets, not based on hearsay, not based on concept. It's an ongoing oral transmission that changes with the times and situations we find ourselves in, like next afterlife, and then back into life as a human again. So these lamas, lama means honorable mother or spiritual friend, are necessary to start this evolutionary process for us humans to finally move out of the judgmental, emotional drama conflict into a safe zone where everything in the universe is who you are, and everyone in the universe is your spiritual friend. And that's what we do with these sutra and tantra practice. And we start by taking refuge in the Lama and all of the people that are guides, we call Buddhas or Bodhisattvas. We take refuge in all the people that practice and teach, that's called the Sangha. And we take practice in the oral tradition of the deity, because that's where the information is stored in our alaya, or natural mind, and they're the cause of it coming into this reality so that we can progress back, evolve back. That said, we'll take refuge. We start with the motivation. And we also start in meditation with what is called the foot of meditation, which is the reality that all of this is space-like. The energy of the mother element space is the cause of all of what appears. And that's the basis of your consciousness. That's the basis of the universe. So when those two are in sync, you have perfect harmony. And you reach a state of what's called peace and tranquility. They use the word nirvana. So that's enlightenment. And you can only attain enlightenment. You cannot become enlightened. That'll give you something to chew on. In order to attain enlightenment for ourselves and limitless sentient beings, our mother, we now altogether take refuge and in the Sutra and Tantra tradition offer prostration. Read that again. In order to attain enlightenment for ourselves and limitless sentient beings, our mother, we now altogether take refuge and in the Sutra and Tantra traditions offer prostration. We go for refuge to all the glorious holy ones. We go for refuge to all the yidams or the deities gathered in our mandala. We go for refuge to all the Buddhas, those who have conquered their mind and gone beyond. We go for refuge to all this supreme Dharma, which is the Sutra and Tantra. We go for refuge to all the noble Sangha, those who teach this and practice. We go for refuge to all the Buddhas, Dakinis and Dakinis, who are the protectors and defenders of Dharma or wisdom. And all of these possess the eye of what is called transcending awareness. We go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and this supreme assembly until enlightenment. And may I, through merit gained from practicing the 6 Bodhisattva perfections or disciplines, accomplish Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. We go for refuge to all lamas. We go for refuge to all the deities. We go for refuge to all the Buddhas. We go for refuge to all the supreme Dharmas. We go for refuge to all the noble Sangha teachers and practitioners. We go for refuge to all the Dakas and Dakinis, who are the protectors and defenders of the wisdom mind called Dharma. All of these possess the eye of transcending awareness, which means beyond judgmental mind. Awareness of non-judgmental mind. Then the Bodhisattva prayer is to the Buddha, Dharma, and this supreme assembly. We go for refuge until enlightenment is attained. May I, through merit gained from practicing these 6 Bodhisattva disciplines, accomplish Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings, which are infinite in number. And we chant this in Sanskrit to welcome the spirits as part of our support system. They are included in all the puja or offerings of Dharma practice that we do and are absolutely necessary for healing. First, I'll chant the motivation in Sanskrit so they hear it. Dag dang jowa nangke da dang yampe samchen lamche du dine jungte jisi jangchu ningpo la chi ki bardu Dalden lama dam dam nam lam chaksu chiyu Yedam Chilkor Vilato Namam Chiyo Sanjay Chon Dende Nam Lang Chak Su Chio Nam Pe Chur Nam Lang Chak Su Chio Bao Pe Gendu Nam Lang Chak Su Chio Bao Wo Kang Jo Cho Kyun Sum Me Sho Ye She Ki Shen Dong Gen Pa Nam La Chan Su Chio Sanjay Cho Dam Cho Ki Cho Nam La Chen Chu Dagi Cha Chu Chi Dagi Jen So Ji Pe So Nam Ki So La Ben Sun Sanjay Chu Pan Show. Motivation, support, and practice. Motivation is for the benefit of all sentient beings to be removed from pain and suffering and establish their natural mind as the ultimate reality. The support are the three jewels which exist on this planet as the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, with the three refuges of the Lama and the symbols of the deities, dakinis, and protectors. And then we enter into Bodhisattva training school with the 6 perfections, which are the 6 disciplines of practice, which establish ourselves in the state of the ultimate reality, the ultimate truth of our natural mind. These 6 disciplines, perfection, Bodhisattva practices, are useful to all sentient beings, but in the human condition, they're absolutely necessary. And most mothers train children to grow, develop, and evolve based on them. And the first is generosity. It's kind of like Christmas every day. Or Valentine's Day every day, which is coming up. Then morality is based on not harming yourself, not harming others, and not harming your environment. And I learned this in Christianity with the golden rule. It's very simple. Treat others as you would treat yourself. Do unto others as you would do to yourself. But at the same time, you have to enter into, as you grow and develop into relations with others, you have to, according to what culture or situation you find in, you have to develop ethics. And wherever ethics is lacking, you have division. In other words, more pain and suffering, divisiveness. And you can see that in all the social structures of our planet, all of them. From family to religion, political, military, corporate, you take your pick. Ecological, every aspect of our social involvement is divisive, causing separation. It's not appropriate. So you attach the ethical programs that bring more and more harmony, more and more cooperation, interrelating in everything you do. And good manners, absolutely necessary. I mean, they start at the dinner table. which should be a fun thing to do. So this is how we grow, develop, and evolve. Then we have patience. Patience is necessary because of the interaction of others towards ourselves and the way the environment is structured to do whatever it wants to do. And a lot of the environment's structure is not to our liking. So we have to have patience, for instance, with the weather programs of the planet. And with others, spirituals, animals, and humans, we have to have patience. Animals, we have to domesticate. Spirits, we have to harmonize, perpetuate, befriend. And humans, those are our relatives. Every single human on this planet. You know, we're relating. They relate to us. We look at what we got. Everything we have comes from them. Okay? Your body came from your mother. So patient with yourself, others, and the environment. This is an ongoing, in place, these three disciplines. So you have to be diligent with them. And this diligence then you want to apply to your spiritual process through meditation. Because the more and more you meditate, the more and more you find out about yourself, the more and more you can be useful on higher and higher levels with your generosity, morality, good manners, and ethics, and your patience. Those four develop together with the meditation process. What is meditation? Simply focusing. But focusing in such a way that the imaginary process of your mind is interplaying with your single-minded focus. Single-minded means focused on one thing, one thought, one appearance, outer appearance. Absolutely necessary. You know, if you're a hunter or fisherman, you have to have these two working together. You're not going to get your food. If you're a gardener or farmer, same thing. So inward focus is a form of spiritual gardening. And the imaginary process is working with that based on the first four and your refuge, your motivation. If this is not for you, this is for all sentient beings, because there is no such thing as separation on any level, even though everything we do causes separation. It doesn't work. But in reality, the universe doesn't work on that basis. Everything in the universe is interconnected. To who? To you. And who creates your universe? You do. With your thought. And if you don't believe me, ask the Dalai Lama. These five working together, generosity, morality, patience, perseverance, meditative concentration, using the intellect with the focus, the ability to visualize, imagine the imaginary process of your consciousness, causes you to move into other states of awareness that ordinary people never experience. They never get there. In fact, most human beings don't get much further than animal and human body. That's not appropriate. But since that's the situation, along with what I'm saying, you must have, and this is where Buddhism is pro, is compassion. Not wimpy compassion, not wishing that everybody would be perfect and all right, or making up some idea that it is when it isn't. Like the heavenly realms, the celestial realms, you know. So, be real. And real is based on truth. Yes, we have the relative situation. Yes, it is totally filled with pain and suffering. But yes, it can be modified. It can be, this pain and suffering can be alleviated in yourself, in others, and in the environment. And that's what those first 5 Bodhisattva disciplines start to do right away. And they take you into these higher and higher states of awareness that there's another aspect of your consciousness that is not emotionally programmed. It doesn't judge things as good or bad based on your thoughts of who you think you are or what's going on around you. It doesn't do that. But it exists. And that's called the ultimate truth. And you know it exists because you experience it. You just don't stay there. You know, you might experience it in the waking stage, you might experience it in dreams, you might experience it in the dying process, and you might have it at the moment of death, leaving the body. But you don't want to fall back into the harmful programming of relative consciousness, relative truth. And a simple explanation of these two truths is the mind itself, how it witnesses things. And a good example I like to use is the simplest one, which my father taught me that. He was a doctor, but he was also trained by the Indians and was a horseman, hunter, and fisherman. But he says, when you're in nature, things appear one way when in fact there's something else. And you must know both ways. And he says, when you're walking and you see a snake in the trail, and you go back, jump. But you find out that that snake is just a crooked stick. You get closer, and it appears as a snake, but it's just a piece of wood, a stick, wiggly stick. He said that is 2 kinds of awareness. Relatively, it appears as a snake. Ultimately, it's a stick. Your mind is exactly like that.
Why is it ultimately a stick?
Because it really is a stick. You can pick it up and it won't bite you. It really was a stick. But when you're walking the path, you saw this wiggly stick and you went, snake. And you emotionally reacted. That's relatively true. But when you pick it up and you find out it's an ordinary stick, there's no reaction. It's just a stick.
Okay.
So ultimately, it was a stick. Relatively, it appeared as a snake. Your mind works exactly like that. And that's why the social structure of this planet is distorted, because all the people on the planet do that. But only humans can change that relative reality to the ultimate reality that it's not that way. It's an invention. It doesn't exist that way. The world, the universe doesn't do that. It doesn't create pain and suffering. It only creates a life support system where the human beings emotionally react, causing pain and suffering. Animals do it because their awareness is inhibited. You know, a mouse has to be a mouse. A snake has to be a snake. A bear has to be a bear. Fish a fish. You can't change. We can change. Only humans can evolve. Animals cannot. Spirit, even more so than animals, because they're not bound up physically. They're with ignorance. They're bound up emotionally in that state of existence. That's why the celestial realm is not appropriate. That's why religions will say, oh, the ultimate way of being is to go to heaven. That's a made-up projection. Okay? First of all, they don't really know that. But second of all, if you were in heaven, what are you here? You know? In your mind, you could be in heaven. So these God and God realm projections are just like what we did with our computer. We structure it into our program, movies, everything on the computer. And we say, oh, very wealthy, very healthy, very rich, very well done. That's the bet. Is it? The more you get, the worse it gets. There's no end to it. Never satisfied, never content. More and more, you become the target of all the pain and suffering. The more you accumulate, the worse you get. This idea of bigger is better, look what that's doing to our environment here on this planet. For 1% of the population to have 99% of the wealth is not appropriate. It doesn't work. For the caste system to exist and say that these people are better than this level and this level and this level and this level, and then you have the outcasts, which are worthless, only useful as slaves, no better than an animal. No. So when we do these practices, we want to structure everything in the practice. The deities included, which are simply symbols. These are just symbols. You know, we don't adore anything. That's religion does that. That makes something better than something else. That's not the way it works. Even everything, everybody equal. No judgment, no good, no bad, no high, no low. No misunderstanding. We call it ignorance. Those 5 categories are the 5 emotional programs that are structured in each one having thousands and thousands of discrepancies in the mind. And in Tibetan Buddhism, they place those 5 categories with 5 concepts of ultimate truth that remove all the pain and suffering of all those harmful thoughts, harmful speech, harmful activity, all of it. This one right here on my head is a symbol of unity. That means everything interconnected to you. No separation. That's a Buddha realm. Everything being equal, that's a Buddha realm. Everything being clear and understandable and usable, that's a Buddha realm. Bodhisattva activity of loving kindness and compassion for all beings and how to accomplish that, that's a Buddha realm. Discerning the awareness that the drama world is unsatisfactory, conditioned existence is unfavorable, and that the other nature of your mind is infinitely more appropriate. That's a Buddha realm. See, if you get one of those, the other 4, no problem. Just one. If you get the idea there's no separation really powerfully in your mind, then everything evens out, everything is based on loving kindness and compassion for all beings, everything becomes clear and understandable, and there's no problem with the idea of a self existing separately, because there's no self. That's a concept, unworkable concept. And that's why we use the imaginary process of the mind in meditation, connecting to the breath, because without this program of breathing applied to increasing your good health, your growth into better and better, healthier physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, without your development through practice, there's no evolutionary accomplishment. None. Why do I smile when I say that? Because it makes me happy to know that. You know? Lamas and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they laugh at stuff that other people don't find funny at all. That's why I'm not here. Because the joke's on me. Now, this breathing is all about energy. In Tai Chi Chuan, which was started by a woman 5,000 years ago in China, or Zen, which was started hundreds of years ago, these various traditions by women, and so forth, even Christianity, Catholicism by Mary, and so forth. The mother principle is the best. We wouldn't be here without that. You know, all of us have to come to a mother. You know? In the animal world, of course, you got my womb or eggs or moisture, heat. In the spirit world, there's no mother. Okay? You don't appear in a celestial realm from a mother. You don't appear in war, demigod mother. You don't appear deprived spirit from a mother. You don't appear in hell from a mother. No, spirit world doesn't do that. The animal and human world do. When you come to the womb, the 5 elements are what creates you, the mother principle of the universe, because these 5 elements make everything that appears. And they're in your mental process as well. And when you use these codes, working with the energy of the reality of the elemental nature of everything, whether it be actual or imagined, you come up with antidotes to disease, pain, suffering, ill health, and so forth. And when you start with the elements, just like you started with birth in your mother, the first thing she did was give you space. Where is the space? Hard to answer now, isn't it? But the mother gave you the space in your body, which is composed of the 5 elements. And one of these elements is space. And it's between every atom, molecule, germ, whatever you want to say your body made up, there's space there. And then, with her breath, being alive and well, and her motivation, she allowed the other 4 elements to develop in the womb in that space. The heat, the warmth, fire energy. Okay? Her own breath, the air, create that. Then the food of the water, the earth element. And then her consciousness. To keep herself in a good state of mind and a good physical situation so that you could develop and come into the world healthy. That's motherhood. Well, that's Buddhism. That's shamanistic Buddhism. That's why I use the 5 elements. And it starts with the space. And everything comes from the sky that way. Hey, everything goes back to the sky. So we start with the 5 element practice with codes of 3 lights for the breath, bring in our ultimate awareness together with our relative awareness to cause these 5 elements to do something physically. Improve your physical situation. Give it more space, give it more warmth, give it more prana, give it more life force from the water and food you eat. So we're going to do that. So this 3 lights meditation with the 5 elements practice brings us both relative and ultimate truth. The relative is your body, the ultimate is your mind. These cannot and do not function separately. So sit with your back straight, hands in a comfortable position. If you're laying down, put your hands on your navel. Right on top of left, left on top of right. Get a little bit tilted forward. Mouth closed to start with. If you have trouble breathing through your nose, then slightly open the lips. You keep your tongue tip touching behind your teeth against your palate. Eyes, if possible, open. Soften your gaze to the space and light about 2 feet in front. Not too close and not to an object. Start with the space and light program entering into your eye, into your brain. Then bring the code of the 3 lights to your breath. The life force energy of the universe is entirely the energy of light, existing through the boundless fabric of space. They're inseparable. There it is, right in front of your eyes. Inhale that energy and mentally visualize it filling your lungs with white light. Then apply the code of the energy itself as red light passing through every cell in your body. Then bring these 2 codes, the white and the red, together and exhale out your nose, blue light to space. And you can think of space like the sky. And you breathe like that to improve your focus, and your ability to imagine, fabricate, visualize, mentally create pictures. These codes, white, red, blue, apply to the life force energy of sustaining you and sharing that with everybody through space with the blue light, which is actually, ultimately, truthfully, the way the universe works. Or the way the universe plays. And you practice this three lights meditation formally and post-meditationally, especially when you're in natural surroundings, informally with nature. It's a very healthy practice. Then to move into the application, the act of healing with the five elements, as they absolutely create everything in your mind and in nature, throughout the universe. And they are inseparable. There is no separation. If you have one, you have all five. And the first one we connect to in the five elements is the space element. And we simply do that by imagining the white, red, and blue codes coming together as an energy point in the center of our chest. And we do this by taking the focus off of the breath and simply using the imagination to create this ultimate particle, similar to an atom, which radiates in every direction but exists in one place. And it totally interconnects with every other particle throughout the boundless fabric of space of our world or universe. And we give this energy center a name. It is called a chakra, or in Sanskrit, Bindu, in Tibetan, Tigli. It's simply a reference point to keep the mind focused, single-pointedly focused, to that area of your body which keeps the whole rest of your body functioning. Then with your focus and your imaginary visualizing third eye of your mind, you enlarge that energy point into a tiny sphere as small as you can imagine of clear light. And this is where space enters into the dimension of universe, one sound. Without a center, without a boundary, but completely functioning as a life support energy system. Then keeping focus and imagination together, you imagine that small sphere to move into one of the symbols of the five elements. Tonight we're going to use the warmth symbol of fire or radiation, which it means as it grows, it evolves into a four-sided red pyramid. With a base. And we label it fire. Or more appropriately, radiation. And we use that symbol psychically for healing by imagining it to grow in size until we can imagine it enclosing our body like a large room in the same sacred dimension as the pyramid of Egypt. Made of light, red light, and labeled fire. And we do this to get that predominant aspect of the five elements as a healing modality, either symptomatically applied according to what modality of healing we might already be practicing, which is how Tai Chi works. Chi or prana, psychically applied, treats all levels of healing requirements: physical, mental, emotional. Mostly physical. In getting results this way applied to your physical body, then you share it by increasing it in size to completely enclose the city, town, island, or a large area of where you're doing your practice. Then visualize it to increase in size and apply it to Mother Earth, visualizing the planet, including her atmosphere inside. Increase it in size to completely enclose the solar system with the sun in the middle, all planets, and everything for billions of miles in every direction inside this symbol. Keeping focus and imagination together, imagine it to enlarge in size to completely enclose our spiral disc-shaped galaxy. Then move beyond the boundaries of the conceptual mind to merge the symbol with boundless space. And relax in this dimension of consciousness with no meditation. Simply contemplate space. By remaining in the present moment. The discipline is to keep to the present. Space as the mother element is the ultimate nature of nature itself. Having increased your capacity for this application, return with your visualizing mental process of creating the four-sided pyramid enclosing the galaxy. Reduce it in size to just enclosing our solar system. Then much smaller to just enclose Mother Earth. Then smaller and smaller to the area, island, town, city, or where you are practicing, where you live, where you are growing and developing. Then to its original small size, visualizing your body inside. Psychically receiving the full life force, leaving energy of the entire universe into your form. To finish the practice, bring the fire symbol to in front of your eyes. Then to chest level into your heart chakra. Shrink it in size so it again assumes the particle connecting to boundless space. Relax, be present. In this state of contemplation, there is only joy or bliss. No drama exists in space. At this stage of the practice, you are increasing your contentment with nothing whatsoever. Then bring this developing awareness to in front of your eyes and into your area of practice. And because you are a Tibetan Buddhist, dedicate the merit of this practice to all sentient beings. Which is the ultimate purpose of this practice. Short break. In the five elements practice, even though we can use each symbol of an element as part of the practice, it's all done the same way. So you start and finish, if it was the earth element, you use the yellow or gold six-sided cube. If you feel more water energy required, then you use a blue sphere. As I said before, the radiation or fire element is a four-sided cube with a base, so it actually has five sides. The air element is half sphere green light. The space element, like the water element, is a sphere white light. We use these as color codes so that the actual function of healing takes place. And as I said before, this treats symptomatically symptoms of disease effectively. Now, why do we use the five elements in the three light code for this class, this practice? Because with the breath, through speech, the oral transmission of shamanism in the Tibetan tradition, through the lamas, men and women, you receive the healing energy mentally, physically, and emotionally as antidotes to treat your own situation effectively. And all of the transmission of Sutra and Tantra uses these three as the body, speech, and mind of the teacher, of the Buddha mind. We develop as bodhisattvas, and with the attainment of the ultimate realization fixed in our consciousness, then we evolve into what is called the ultimate truth of being in perfect harmony with the universe itself, in the human condition. Yeah. That's it.
That's too simple.
But also, these five elements connect us, as does the natural world, and our involvement with the natural world of the nature around us, including the plant, animal, and mineral life. All of that, to move into higher states of awareness where the ultimate and relative truths become the same truth. Like that crooked stick See? Ultimately, it's a crooked stick. Relatively, it was a snake. Same stick. See? Your mind is that simple. They exist in all sentient beings. But only in the human condition can you do this. You know, that's why compassion is absolutely necessary for living with sentient beings. Because animals and spirits can't do this. They can't sync. They can't come into sync. With what? With nature. With the natural life support system as being the mother principle of life itself. It just can't do it. And most humans on the planet cannot do it. And the same color code that we use for these 5 elements is the way we treat the cause of all disease, which is this emotional program based on judgment. So ultimately and relatively, how would you describe the mind? Relatively, it's the 5 elements. That's called judgmental mind. Ultimately, it's non-judgmental. Do the 5 elements exist there? No. But they do if you're in a body. If you've taken birth, if you have the good fortune to become a human being, you have the potential of the 5 elements becoming the 5 Dhyana Buddha families in their conscience. And when we do that in Tibetan Buddhism, we bring that ultimate nature of mind and the relative nature of mind into the same place. That's where the imaginary process and the focus develop ultimate states or transcendental states of consciousness. Extraordinary. Not supernatural. Nothing is supernatural. You can say divine and sacred, but even those don't apply. Natural is natural, equal. You know, when you say divine and sacred, you kind of elevate something out of what it really is in your mind. So you want to simplify. You want to keep this simple. And the way we purify the mind, as we are purifying our body of all the crud we put in it with our consciousness, with our emotional program, and the way we eat, and the way we, our activities and speak, we want to purify all of that with the same kind of energy as the element, which is the energy of light itself. The energy of the mind is light. And yes, it has a dark, and yes, it has a light. Yes, it is black, and yes, it is white. But it all is in the same place. And so how do we purify the mind, tantrically speaking, so that the sutra deities, the peaceful deities, the protectors of Dakinis, all of them, function to elevate our consciousness, move it naturally out of this drama fixation, okay, with everything. And look at your cell phone and Facebook. Ooh. That's just the opposite. They're deepening the illusion of the snake in the stick. More and more you're believing it's the snake when it's the stick. The illusion is based on delusion. Delusion is a form of ignorance. Ignorance is a form of stupidity. Stupidity is a form of bewilderment. Where does it stop? So how do we transform? How do we purify obstacles to meditation using the imaginary process and the ability to focus? We use the process of the deities themselves, male and female deities. And we start with their vibratory sound, just like all nature. Everything in the universe vibrates. It has a sound. And so, with the female energy, we start with the sound of space itself. Brahm. Now, this color code that I'm showing you is on a red background. That's the warmth of this being the mother principle. Okay? Radiation and space exist simultaneously. Brahm is the sound of space, but its energy field is light. And this is applied to the mother principle. And when it's applied to the deity, it creates the deity with that vibration. The deity can be white, as I'm showing you here, like a goddess, beautiful, young, vibrant. And in union. So here's two ways of showing this aspect of your consciousness. The most pure aspect of consciousness and physical is space itself. So there we have two ways. White connected to blue, like the space. And the male deity being blue is like the sky.
Look how small they make the female.
Huh?
Look how small they make the female.
Actually, it would be more real to have the female's head higher than the male. Because most of the females I've enjoyed were looking over the top of my head. But this is the rendition that evolved from the Hindu application of the Buddha's teaching. Okay? Now the male aspect evolves from the same symbol as we use for all healing, which is the blue plume. The male can be white, like space, or blue, like the sky. Either way. But these two move into a state of unity. Now, unity is this statue, Vajra, they call the Vajra family of unity, or a state of no separation. And they are visualized in sexual union, which is the perfect idea of no separation in the human condition. And in some cases, celestial. But when you use these two sounds, the hum applies to the male and the bam applies to the female. And in Tibetan Buddhism, we have ritual instruments. Now these look like bell and a funny thing with 5 prongs closed on each end. It's called the Vajra. Actually, what this symbolizes with these 5 is the 5 elements, and this side is the 5 states of transcendental awareness. Buddha antidotes to the cause of emotional affliction. And they connect in the middle with the particle, which is your mind, in the heart. Then these two come together and join in vibration with the female energy of space, because everything that appears in space vibrates. Like a sound. So these ritual instruments in use have power. By themselves, they're nothing. They're just symbols. But when used in spiritual practice, they develop power, and they actually are useful in dealing with spirit, which is where Buddhist becomes spirituality. Okay? The word spiritual becomes from the word spirit. So these two are the Vajra family, and Vajrasattva holds both of these. She holds a trigger, which is a knife, and a skull cup, which is a symbol of spatial awareness, behind the head of the male figure. The whole thing is about light, energy. So these two coming together, the healing energy of the home and the spatial energy of healing, like we use in the five elements, is the female, we put them above our head, which is the place of honor of the teacher. All lamas are placed on a lotus, sun, and moon disk above your head. Some say in the sky, and some say in front. In Tantric Buddhism, they're here. Then the Vam and the Hum, which is the Vajra and bell, appear, and then they change into the two deities with the Vam and Hum in their heart. Then those two deities together circulate the light up here with the mantra, and then that light energy, healing energy, comes down through the soft spot towards the back of your head, not the top, not the crown. Back here, enters the Uma channel and goes through the head chakra, throat chakra, heart chakra, navel chakra, sex chakra. And as it passes through these five energy centers, it pushes out all negative imbalances, blockages, anything that's harmful substance-wise in your body, or emotionally conflicting energies, which also stick in your body, out through the pores and orifices of your body, and then slide off the body like mercury, but become nectar as they hit the ground, the same way your urine or feces would, to become food or nectar for the animals or spirits that live in the earth. So it's not wasted. Nothing is wasted in the energy program. This purifies your tendency that you brought with you from previous lives. You don't know what they are, unless you meditate, unless you look at your own defective tendency. But to do that, you want to purify the body itself, which is the base of practice. So, I'm going to say the mantra one time, and this brings all the energy of all the traditions of Tibetan Buddhism into this, because they all do this. All the lamas, men and women, teach this tantric practice. It's the base of all the deity sutra and tantric yoga. And I'm going to say the mantra which evolves from those two sounds, and is coiled like a spring around these two, connecting the two deities, filling them with light, coming out their place of union, and flowing through your body. Excuse me. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manobalaya Vajrasattva Dinova Tikta Trito Mevawa Sukokayo Mevawa Sukokayo Mevawa Anurakto Mevawa Sarvar Siddhi Memtrayata Sarvar Kama Susume Sitsam Shriyam Kuru Ha ha ho Bhagavan Sarvar Tathagata Vajramami Vajramau Mahasamaya Sattva the sound of energy. It's like an Om, and Hum. You have the text? The sutra practice goes like this. The lotus, sun, and moon seed arises from the syllables Om, Ram, and Ah. These develop into the dorje and bell, which is marked with the Vam and Hum. These attract with the three lights of the Lama, white, red, and blue, all the energy of the Lama and the Lama's lineage. All that energy comes into this symbol above your head. As this becomes Vajra Yogini and Vajrasattva in union, she is white and he is blue, dressed in bells, and they sit on a lotus, sun, and moon seat with silks and jewels, dressed like goddess. Each has five jewel crowns connecting to the five dhyana Buddhas. As the home is an offering to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of healing energy, with that energy field for the benefit of all sentient beings. I'm reading this. Then light returns into the home and the bomb, and Vajrasattva and Vajragiri turn into as the root Lama to all the sources of refuge, which you took refuge, all six. With these color codes and one face and two hands, both in union, the male and female become the indestructible aspects of your own consciousness. Purification is the five basic unstable emotions become the five Buddha families, represented by the crowns on their heads. This is the nature of your ultimate mind. The bell, called the jewel, is a symbol of the five elements, blended with the natural wisdom and realization of the void nature of all phenomena and thought, is the dojo. Above their head is the Buddha Oxabaya, symbolizing the antidote to anger, hatred, and so forth, aversion. It is the Dharmakaya symbol of wisdom that your natural mind is all-pervasive. The body is the symbol of the 32 and 80 major marks of the rainbow body, or energy bliss body of the Sambhoga Kaya, which is all the tantric vehicle of Tibetan Buddhism. It emits a measureless light for healing that lacks substantiality. It's like a hologram or reflection of moon and water. The transmission is given with the three symbols Om, Ah, and Hum. So up to this point, we're reading from the text. At this point, you receive what is called the empowerment of this practice, so that the practice works effectively. You do that, you visualize the Lama in front, transmitting the three lights of the body, speech, and mind. By seeing white light come from the Lama's head into your forehead, red light from the Lama's throat into your throat, and blue light from the Lama's heart into your heart chakra. The white light is the base empowerment to be the deity. The red light is for the power of that to become the mantra and its healing result. And the wisdom energy is the transmission of moving from the relative drama state through purification into the ultimate state of truth. When these three lights are seen simultaneously, apply them to your breath. To do that, the Lama moves into you, and at this point, do the three lights breathing. Inhale white light, hear the sound Ah. The energy of that light passing through your body is visualized as red light to every sound. You hear the sound. The first sound with the white light is Om on the inhale. The middle breath is the sound Ah, absorption of that through the body. is red light. And these two combine to have blue light exhaled out the nose, and that's the all-pervasive sound of healing with the sound home. So for a moment, breathe like that. Inhale white light, hear the sound home. Red light, energy through the body, healing, hear the sound ah. Combine these two energy programs out the nose, exhale blue light to space, hear the sound boom. Now take your focus off the breath and combine those three lights and those three sounds into a sphere of five-colored light in your heart, into the sound home. This blue-coated home is give it thickness, make it three-dimensional. Then transfer that into the space above your head, and the sound bomb appears. Then from the home and the bomb, the two deities appear. She is white, he is blue, Vajrayogini and Vajrasattva in union. Once these appear, then you see the mantra appear, connecting those two syllables, heart to heart, with the mantra, 100-syllable mantra. Once this appears, then you start to sound the mantra and have the energy of the light of those two beings blend and come from their place of sexual union down into your central channel and purify each level of your being. Head chakra, that purifies your mental. Throat chakra, speech. Heart chakra, mind. Navel chakra, power, quality, development. All negative, purifying. Sex chakra, all elemental energy, purifying. Om Vajrasattva Samaya, Manupalaya, Vajrasattva Te No Pada, Tika Trino, Devavam, Supokaya Devavam, Supokaya Devavam, Adarato Devavam, Sarva Siddhi Nataya, Sarva Kama Sutta Devi, Sutta Shriya Kuruvam, Om Bhagavam, Sarva Jataka, Vajramami, Vajrabhava, if you have the text, it's on the third page. Om Vajrayogini Vajrasattva Samaya, Manupalaya, Vajrasattva Tenokava, Tika Jiro Meva, Sutokaya Meva, Supokaya Meva, Adarato Meva, Sarvar Siddhi Mentraya, Sarvar Brahma Sutta Meni, Sutta Shriya Guru Om, Om Bhagavan, Sarva Jataka, Vajramami Muta, Vajrabhava, Mahasamaya Sattva Om Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva Samaya, Tenokaya, Tika Jiro Me Bhavan, Sutokaya Me Bhavan, Sutokaya Me Bhavan, Sutokaya Me Bhavan, Adarato Me Bhavan, Sarva Siddhi Mentraya, Sarva Karma Sutta Me, Chitta Jriya Guru Om, Om Bhagavan, Sarva Tathagata, Vajramami Muta, Vajrabhava, Mahasamaya Sattva Om. Om Vajrayogini Vajrasattva Samaya, Manupalaya, Vajrasattva Practice. Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denupa Ekatero Megawa Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Ekatero Megawa Sutokaya Megawa Shubhokaya Megawa Anuratu Megawa Sarvashati Namjayata Sarva Karma Sutame Islam Shri Guru Om Bhagavan Sarvajata Vajraman Vajravan Samaya Sattva Om Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tika Jito Megawan Sutokaya Megawan Supokaya Megawan Anurata Megawan Sarva Siddhi Manjaya Sarva Karma Sutame Sisam Shri Guru Aho Bhagavan Sarva Jata Vajramame Musa Vajrabhava Manasamaya Sattva Om Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Denupa Tika Jito Megawan Sutokaya Megawan Supokaya Megawan Anurata Megawan Sarva Siddhi Manjaya Sarva Karma Sutame Sisam Shri Guru Om Bhagavan Sarva Jata Vajramame Musa Vajrabhava Manasamaya Sattva Om Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denupa Tika Jito Megawan Sutokaya Megawan Supokaya Megawan Anurata Megawan Sarva Siddhi Manjayata Sarva Karma Sutame Sisam Shri Guru Om Bhagavan Sarva Jata Vajramame Musa Vajrabhava Manasamaya Sattva Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denupa Tika Jito Megawan Sutokaya Megawan Supokaya Megawan Anurata Megawan Sarva Siddhi Manjayata Sarva Karma Sutame Sisam Shri Guru Om Aho Bhagavan Sarva Jata Vajramame Musa Vajrabhava Manasamaya Sattva Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denupa Tika Jito Megawan Sutokaya Megawan Supokaya Megawan Anurata Megawan Sarva Siddhi Manjayata Sarva Karma Sutame Sisam Shri Guru Om Bhagavan Sarva Jata Vajramame Musa Vajrabhava Manasamaya Sattva Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denupa Tika Jito Megawan Sutokaya Megawan Supokaya Megawan Anurata Megawan Sarva Siddhi Manjayata Sarva Karma Sutame Sisam Shri Guru Om Bhagavan Sarva Jata Vajramame Musa Vajrabhava Manasamaya Sattva Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denupa Tita Jino Megawan, Sukayo Megawan, Anarato Megawan, Solar City, Nunchaya, Our Common Susaman, System Shriyam Kuru, Solar Jatagata, Rajaman, Bhavasavaya Safa, and Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya, Manapalaya, Vajrasattva Dena, Ekadrita Megawa, Sutokaya, Shukokaya Megawa, Anarata Megawa, Solar City, Venturaya, Solar Common System, System Shriyam Guru Home, Solar Jatagata, Vajramam, Vajrabawa, Manasmaya, Sattva, Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya, Manapalaya, Vajrasattva Dena, Ekadrita Megawa, Sutokaya Megawa, Shukokaya Megawa, Anarata Megawa, Solar City, Venturaya, Solar Common System, System Shriyam Guru Om Bhagavan, Solar Jatagata, Vajramam, Vajrabawa, Manasmaya, Sattva. Now, with this mantra, once you memorize it and can say it like this with practice, then when you visualize the energy of the deities passing through you, all your harmful tendencies from all previous past lives, all that coming into this situation, all purified, pushed all those tendencies, pushed out of the mind, out of the body, out of your pores, out to the orifices, eyes, nose, mouth, ears, lower orifices, all that coming out on the surface of your body like sweat, then all running off down into the earth, all that negative. As soon as it hits the earth, nectar, food for animal spirits living there, not wasted, transforming, recycling. Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya, Manapalaya, Vajrasattva Dena, Ekadrita Megawa, Sutokaya Megawa, Shukokaya Megawa, Anarata Megawa, Solar City, Venturaya, Solar Common System, System Shriyam Guru Home, Om Bhagavan, Solar Jatagata, Vajramam, Vajrabawa, Manasmaya, Sattva. So it starts with Om, and the energy is the Ah at the end, and in the middle is the Om healing, with the Vam energy of the entire light force energy of space, the female, of radiant. Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya, Manapalaya, Vajrasattva Dena, Tita Jado Megawa, Sutokaya Megawa, Supokayo Megawa, Anarato Megawa, Solar City, Venturaya, Solar Karma, Sutta Me, Sitsam Shriya, Guru Ho, Ho, Bhagavan, Sarva Tathagata, Vajramam, Vajrabawa, Mahasamaya, Sattva. Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya, Manapalaya, Vajrasattva Dena, Ekadrita Megawa, Sutokaya Megawa, Shukokaya Megawa, Anarata Megawa, Solar City, Venturaya, Solar Karma System, System Shriyam Guru Home, Bhagavan, Sarva Jatagata, Vajramam, Vajrasattva. Manasmaya, Sattva. Om Vajragini Vajrasattva Samaya, Manapalaya, Vajrasattva Dena, Ekadrita Megawa, Sutokaya Megawa, Shukokaya Megawa, Anarata Megawa, Solar City, Venturaya, Karma Sutta Me, System Shriyam Guru Home, Solar Jatagata, Vajramam, Vajrabawa, Manasmaya, Sattva. Okay. At the end of your session of the 100 syllable mantra, however many you do, 7, 21, 108, counting with the mala, or using the clock, usually 3 rounds an hour, 108. So that would be 300 in an hour. However you do this, when you finish, bring the bomb and the home down into your heart center, and you become Vajrasattva, Vajrayogini, in union. Then you say the short mantra of these two deities. Om Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva, Om, Om. Om Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva, Om, Om Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva, Om, Om Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva, Om, Om Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva, Om, Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva, Om, Om Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva, Om, Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva, Om, Om Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva, Om, Om Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva, Om, Om Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva, Om, Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva, Om 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 Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva. Okay. You say the short mantra at least as many times as you use the long mantra for purification. Then all of the sentient beings in the universe, as Vajrayogini, Vajrasattva, all your mother sentient beings, animal, human, spirit, filling the sky of your mind, filling space, all coming to you, all coming to Vajrayogini. And Vajrayogini melts into you. Then the two seed syllables merge in your heart center and disappear into space. No meditation. Sit in the ultimate nature of non-judgmental mind. Voidness, sunyata. Simply be present and contemplate emptiness as bliss. No judgment, no drama. Then arise from this state of consciousness as the clear light energy of the universe represented by Amitabha, the Buddha of infinite light. See the Shri in your heart center, Light goes out to all sentient beings. They become Chenrezig. The three in your heart center, you're the central Chenrezig. No separation. All animals Chenrezig, all spirits, all humans. This causes the heart mantra to arise. Om Mani Padme Hum. So we'll say this, and then we'll do what is called consciousness transference to the infinite light energy of Amitabha. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Somebody give me home, money, give me home, money, give me home, money, oh, money, give me home, 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 money. Oh, money, baby, home, free. Now visualize Amitabha above your head, you as Chandriji, and apply this to your mother in front and all mother sentient beings filling space. Om Mani Padme Hum, Hri Om Mani Padme Hum, Hri Om Mani Hri Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Hri Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Hri 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 Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Hri 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 Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Hri. Then hold your visualization with Chandriji with Amitabha above your head and apply a Hri emanating to your eyes, the one in front of each eye. Hri, Hri. Then each ear, Hri, Hri. Then the mouth, Hri. Then your lower orifices, Hri. Then the central Hri in your heart, eject it upward into the heart center of Amitabha, the symbol of infinite light of space. So everything becomes like the sun, radiating infinite light in every direction. When you do that, your Chandriji, the Hri in your heart center, sound the Hri. And as you do it, up the central channel and merge with the Hri in the heart center of Amitabha Buddha, and that becomes a blazing energy of light of boundless space, like a sun. Hri. And transform into infinite light. Or become Amitabha Buddha, either way is appropriate. He's red in color. Then bring the Hri back down with the Om. Om. And center it in your heart center. This is called consciousness transference. Very useful at the moment of death with yourself or others. I performed it a week ago with my dog Ringo. And he went to day watch in this way, left his body. tree.
Mm.
Do it 3 times. 3.
Right.
When it comes back down, you feel it very securely in your heart center. Then collect the 3s you place at the orifices of your body. 2 from your eyes, 2 from your ears, 2 from your nostrils, 1 from your mouth, and the lower orifices. Men 2, women 3. Collect. Now all the 3s in your heart center, all sentient, mother sentient beings collect into you. You as Shenrei-Z disappear into the tree in a 5-colored sphere of light. And that merges with the boundless light of the ultimate awareness of your own mind as space. Relax in voidness, Aha Mudra. No meditation. Be present in the timeless moment. Non-judgmental mind is bliss. This Amitabha Pova practice is very useful on occasions of animals or humans leaving their body, including yourself. And we dedicate the merit of these practices tonight to the benefit of all sentient beings. May all the Buddhas, Lords of Dharma, Bodhisattvas who possess the 3 kayas of body, speech, and mind, and the 10 wisdoms, all these gurus, all the idams, dakinis, dharma protectors, and others, all witness with kindness this dedication of merit. Dewa Diyi Nirdu Dan, Chagyo Champo Chugirne, Gowa Chinking Mawu Dan, Deyi Sawa Gopar Sho, Sanjay Kusum Denpai Chumma Dan, Choni Devu Denpai Chumma Dan, Kendu Miche Denpai Chumma Ki, Chitar Kuma Mumam Ju Par Sho. By this virtue of having realized Mahamudra, we have quickly established all beings without a single exception in that state. With the blessings of the 3 kayas of the Buddha being accomplished, with the blessings of the unchanging truth of the Dharma, with the blessings of the wishes of us, the Sangha, may this dedication prayer be fulfilled. May all beings be happy, free of suffering, established in bliss and equanimity. May all the lamas have long life, good health, happiness, and prosperity, and may all their wishes be fulfilled. And to you and everybody in the class tonight, Juchiche, thank you very much.